This is the Hub on Hollywood. I'm James.
I'm Jamie.
And we love movies.
Yes.
Yes.
I think we're getting better at that.
We're getting more in sync every single day. Jamie, what a jam-packed show today. I'm really excited about this one. Just to start, we have a very special guest. Yeah, very special guest for this episode. There's a new movie that's coming out, and it was directed by one of our, at least one of my own childhood idols growing up, Amy Jo Johnson.
Oh, mine too.
Yeah, so we spoke to her. You may know her as the Pink Ranger for the Power Rangers, the movie, TV series, as well as Flashpoint, Felicity, and a plethora of other things. Now she's directed her second feature-length film called Tammy's Always Dying, and we're so gracious that she was able to sit down with us and talk to us about that.
Absolutely, James. So she's gone from actress to director. You might say that she's gone through a morphing time.
Get out of here.
Oh, she's going to hate me now. She's going to hate me. Amy,
yes.
I'm sorry.
No, but so we have that coming up on this episode, and it's a great interview, so please stick around for that. Also on this episode, we're talking about some more conflict between the movie theaters and video on demand streaming services, in particular AMC versus Universal Pictures. Apparently, AMC's threatening to ban all Universal Pictures, and we'll get into why in just a little bit. Also talking about how this whole pandemic is currently and possibly changing the future of how we watch movies in general, and we also talk about that with Amy Jo Johnson. Also on today's show, we will be hitting Clone Wars, the final season. The final episode's coming up on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. Yes. And so that's going to be a really good, fun talk. The Last Airbender coming to streaming.
Yeah. There would be no Hub on Hollywood without Star Wars in each and every episode, so stay tuned for that. And yes, and speaking of cartoons that we love, Avatar: The Last Airbender, as you were mentioning, one of the most beautifully done, philosophical, just absolutely gorgeous cartoon series that I've ever watched. That is also coming to the streaming services, so we'll let you know when. But first... Cage match, James. There is a cage match, fight to the death between Universal and AMC theaters. We knew that something like this was going to eventually happen with everything moving onto the streaming services. So why don't you tell us what is happening between these two giants?
So because of the pandemic, a lot of movies have been streaming online, video on demand, because, of course, all the movie theaters are closed. And Universal found something. I'm not sure if they were planning this in the long run, but it seems like they may have been planning to eventually switch movie releases to video on demand simultaneously with movie theaters. But because of the pandemic, they went ahead and released Trolls World Tour, the sequel to the first Trolls movie, starring Justin Timberlake, and they did extremely well. They actually made $154 million in about 3 weeks or so. Or let me get those numbers correct. They earned $100 million in 3 weeks, more than the studio's previous Trolls movie earned in a 5-month theatrical release back in 2016. This is according to Market Watch. So with how successful the sequel was on video on demand, they said that they now plan to not only release this movie, but all of their future Universal films simultaneously when they come out in theaters. However, that's rubbing AMC the wrong way. One of the largest movie theaters chains in the country, in the whole world, really. And so they're not really happy. So right now, the Wall Street Journal reports that Universal's decision to make the animated kids movie Trolls World 2 Tour immediately available for digital rentals, it really created this rift. And so AMC, they released this letter saying that they are banning all Universal films because of what Universal did. Now, it seems like this is going to be it seems like how movies have been distributed in the past. It's been this agreement where the movie would release theatrically for 90 days, for 3 months. And then after that 90-day period, then the makers, the producers like Universal, then they can go ahead and either release it on DVD, on streaming services, but after the theatrical run. But now that Universal, excuse me, my phone's ringing. Now that Universal realizes how much, of a profit they can make by bypassing the theater experience, that they're probably going to go that route. AMC, however, they said, you know what, we're just going to go ahead and not play any of your movies or show any of your movies. I think this is a terrible mistake for AMC. What do you think?
It sounds like a case of mutually assured destruction.
I went to the bathroom.
Good job.
Yeah.
It sounds like a case of mutually assured destruction here, where you have Universal, who wants to make more money and get their films in front of more eyeballs more quickly, but then they're going to be losing out on the film revenue, on the AMC revenue. AMC, obviously, they're losing out money by not being able to have that money exclusively come from AMC theaters, come from the theater experience. So
Hold on, God bless you, Jamie.
I think both parties are suffering here. Both parties are taking a blow until they can come up with some kind of compromise. But I don't know that there's really a compromise, James. It's really a rock against a hard place kind of a situation. Because, I mean, the film industry was evolving before the whole pandemic happened. And now people can't get to the theater at all. So it's, I don't know. What do you think? I'm not sure what the right solution is here.
I really don't see this. I actually only see this as a lose-win situation and a lose for AMC. AMC is relying heavily on, obviously, these movies being distributed. That's how they make their money. However, Universal, they're showing that with what they did with the sequel of Trolls, that they can bypass. They don't need to wait 3 months before streaming their services or selling their product. They can just go straight to the consumer. And according to the numbers, audiences, they don't mind. They're willing to watch the movie at home. AMC, I feel like this is going to be a slippery slope, because not only is Universal, not only do they know that they are able to make a really big profit by video on demand, but I think other movie distributors like Paramount and Miramax and all these other ones, they're going to see also, why do we need to split the money or split the revenue with these movie theaters when we can just bypass that? We already know that the movie going experience is going to probably be dramatically changed because of this pandemic. Movie going is not going to be the same anymore, or for at least the few, few years in the future. And so I think AMC is really shooting itself in the foot here. Now, they say that, that they're pulling all the Universal films, they're not going to show them, and this is not a threat, but this is, how they call it bad business practice, bad model practice. And so, I don't know. I feel like this is AMC overreacting.
Well, AMC overreacting. Well, I think it's a little bit of bad faith on Universal's part.
Oh, definitely, it is. It is. But I think Universal is still going to be profiting without problem.
No. So we'll see. I want to see what happens after the pandemic and see whether or not that's actually, how much money they would make in normal circumstance. Because right now everyone is a captive audience. Everyone is trapped at home. So, yes, they've made a tremendous amount of money, but it might be because of the coronavirus. It might not be because this is a viable strategy moving forward. As you know, I am a big fan of the movie theater experience. I don't want to see movie theaters die.
No.
So I would, I hope that this doesn't become a trend with every movie house. But it remains to be seen. We'll see. I mean, money talks, right, James?
Is Nikki trying to find a comfortable spot on your lap, or what's going on?
He just wants to make sure he's front and center.
Okay.
He's getting ready for his movie career in the future.
Very nice. Well,
right?
Obviously he knows how to garner the spotlight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again,
Exactly.
This may be. I think other movie producers, they may be looking at this and seeing, as you mentioned, how it plays out, to see, if Universal can continue to release films and continue to make even more money without having to share that with movie theaters, then I think more movie makers are going to see that and just follow suit, and that's really going to hurt. Maybe not all the movie theaters, but in particular right now AMC, and AMC could be the one that kind of ruins it for the rest of theaters. And there
Yeah.
are always going to
And
be
they were
people
hurting
who want to
before
go.
this.
Yeah, definitely. And there are always going to be people who want to go to the movie, have that, or the movie theater, and have that experience, and, you know, myself included. But I also understand the limitations and the way things are changing. Yeah, I just think AMC is overreacting. I think there should have been maybe some more behind the scenes kind of negotiations. It's a little more back and forth.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is just shooting themselves in the foot.
Absolutely. All right, here comes a jump. Here comes a hard cut. Bloop.
So I think with this AMC Universal thing, you know, talking about more video on demand, more movies being seen at home when they're debuting, just talking about the home theater experience, I personally think, and I'm actually not entirely opposed to this. Again, I love going to the movie theater. I love that whole experience. But given the circumstances that we're facing right now, I can imagine home theaters becoming a lot more popular. And I think, you know, for the most part, everyone thinks the home theater is for the rich and the famous and the glamorous and those who can afford it. But technology is advancing so quickly, and it's so easy nowadays to just get a projector, get a blank wall, and stream a movie. And nowadays, I've been seeing a lot more ads on my Instagram showing these pop-up like the screens, these white blank screens that you can pop up. They're very sturdy, so you can even set them up inside, but also even outside. And so I think a lot more people are going to be experimenting with that, and that's something that I'm not opposed to experimenting with either. I love, you know, seeing big new movies on the big screen, you know, dark, windows closed, lights off, and I think a lot of people would be willing to transition to that.
Hey, we all just got a stimulus check, right? Well, most of us, right?
Yeah, I think that theater system costs exactly $1,200. Yeah.
Forget paying the rent. Forget paying the rent and the electric bill. Yeah, there was one home theater. It was an inflatable screen. It was like an inflatable outdoor screen, and that was something I was trying to get me and my husband and his cousin like to kind of like pool our resources together so that we could have that in the summertime out in the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. If this becomes more of the trend and people are trapped at home as we are, I think that's going to continue to be the way that it goes, and it's going to be a lot of fun to put that together.
I filled this with water and I drank it.
And not only can you watch movies on these potential home movie theaters, but also obviously whatever's streaming online. And most recently, what I've been watching, and a lot of people have been watching, is the final season of the Clone Wars. And let me tell you, the last episode is the second to the last one. Our final finale for the Clone Wars is coming out on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. And so, but I have to talk about the last episode because this is one that many people are calling not only the best episode of the Clone Wars series, but also it has one of the best lightsaber fights, not only in the Clone Wars, but in all of Star Wars. And I really agree. So let me tell you about this.
Before you launch into that real quick, just give us a quick synopsis of the Clone Wars, because there's so many different Star Wars movies and shows, and like, where does this piece into the timeline?
So this is the Clone Wars fits right in between the prequels. The second, I'm blanking on the name right now, but the second. The second movie in the prequels, in between that and Revenge of the Sith. And so this pretty much covers the entire Clone Wars. And so we're one episode actually away. The one on May 4th is going to be the one that catches up to Revenge of the Sith. And so last week's episode is called Phantom Apprentice, and this is Ahsoka and the Republic Army. They are going to confront Darth Maul on Mandalore, and they're trying to capture Darth Maul alive because he knows the true identity of who Darth Sidious is. And so they're trying to capture him, and so this is a big thing. And so, not to give any spoilers, but in this episode, and I think it's been talked around everywhere, but there's a great fight scene between Darth Maul and Ahsoka. And one of the best things about this episode is, now, of course, Darth Maul, the actor who played in The Phantom Menace in the original prequels, is not the same actor who does the voice work for the Clone Wars Darth Maul. However, for the fight scene, they brought back Ray Park to reprise his role as Darth Maul, but for the fighting scenes. And so what they did was put him in a motion capture suit. And when I was watching it, I thought that I thought the fighting looked fantastic, and I could already tell right from the beginning that it was some of the best lightsaber fighting that we've ever seen. And I was thinking that they were probably using motion capture because, unlike the previous episodes, the previous lightsaber battles in the Clone Wars, they're great, choreography, but you can kind of tell that it's kind of robotic, or it's still as smooth as it can get. But for this one, I could tell there was a much more fluidity to it, and I was so impressed by that. And then afterwards, I found out that Ray Park was brought back and put in that motion capture suit, and so the fighting that you see with the double lightsaber with Ahsoka it's unbelievable, because you're seeing the actual Darth Maul from the prequels come back to life and
that's
fight.
Amazing. And so that Darth Maul and in the fight with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, that was the best part of the prequels. Like, yes. Everyone loved Darth Maul, everyone loved that fight. That was the most spectacular part of it. And for them to incorporate that into the Clone Wars, like, they're starting to find all of these pieces that fans loved the most. And I love that they're doing this in such a creative way, and in the Clone Wars universe. Motion capture, incredible. I don't know if you've seen the Darth Maul actor at conventions, but he is still as amazing as he was back then. And obviously, if he's doing the motion capture, he's still amazing as he was back then. And he does the demonstrations and the double lightsaber. I really, really wish that Rey would have had a double lightsaber in The Rise of Skywalker, because it's just such an iconic thing that the fans really love, and the way that it moves and all of that. So I'm really glad to hear that, and that it sounds so spectacular. So how does that work in with the story of the Clone Wars? So Ahsoka is Anakin's Padawan
apprentice,
correct?
Yeah, and so
apprentice.
right now, it's actually really cool, because in the last episode, again, second to the last of the series, they mention things that are going on in Revenge of the Sith, like certain battles. Anakin is watching Palpatine.
Oh, awesome.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, he's going to be fighting or trying to capture General Grievous. And so you could actually really start seeing not only the storylines start to match up, but you also start noticing, themes starting to match up. And so the next episode, again, on May 4th, will be the series finale. We're going to be seeing Order 66 go down from Ahsoka's point of view. And I can already tell it's going to be one of the best episodes and one of the best ways to end the season. The Clone Wars, the series itself, is critically acclaimed and has so many good things going for it. And it gives us many of the things that we were missing in between the Clone Wars second movie to Revenge of the Sith. It really fills up that gap. And I think they did a great job. I'm sure that they're going to knock it out of the park, the finale. And I'm really excited, clearly.
Awesome. Well, everyone loves Ahsoka. She's one of the breakout characters of all of the expanded universe here, and I believe she's going to be involved with some future things in live action. Didn't we just get a casting for Ahsoka?
Yeah, I'm forgetting her name,
but it was Rosario Dawson.
That is correct.
Was it Rosario Dawson?
That is correct.
Yeah, so exciting.
Yeah, and so right now I hear rumors that she may be a part of The Mandalorian, either season 2 or season 3, and so that would be amazing. And Ahsoka, yeah, she is one of the most popular Star Wars characters now, and a lot of people consider her to be like a true Jedi, one of the best Jedi out of all of them. And you really do see that on display in the last episode. So if you're not on the Clone Wars train after all these years, get on it. And the last season, very good. I would say it got off to a slow start, but for the most part, the final episode and that we just saw in the next one, they look great. So I highly recommend them.
Awesome. Absolutely. And I have one other recommendation also. If you're looking for something that is beautifully done animation with equally amazing fight scenes and a little more philosophy, Avatar: The Last Airbender from the early 2000s is going to be on Netflix May 15th. The entire 3 seasons are going to be on Netflix. Highly bingeable, beautifully done. Speaking about using live action to kind of draw into the actual show. Dan and Brian are the producers, writers, creators of Avatar: The Last Airbender. They're actually trying to create a live action TV show of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Now, anybody who's a fan of the show might remember the absolutely disastrous movie of the 2000s, also directed by M. Night Shyamalan, where they changed everything. You know what I mean? Like, when you change the name and the personality of the main character, it's not going to go over well. So they are redoing it again 10 years later. Dan and Brian are going to be involved in the creation of this live-action TV show. It's not a movie. So hoping fans of Avatar are hoping that it stays more authentic and true to the spirit of the first series, and that I am completely psyched for. If we have time for a 2-minute long story, so my husband and I were very, very into it. We were so excited to go to the movie. Everybody was dressed up. Like, you've got this like very excited fan base there that was totally ready to go for it, but the movie was so horrible. So I'm guessing the producers are hoping that ravenous fan base is still there and ready, and will be there for them. But they've had production delays, and now with obviously the coronavirus, we might not see that live action show until next year or even 2022. But it is in the works. It is going to happen, and that I'm super excited for also, James.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to Clone Wars. A lot of content to digest. But before we get to our next topic, again, thank you so much for watching and listening to us on the Hub on Hollywood every week. If you are not subscribed to us on YouTube, please do so. Like and comment down below. Have you been watching and keeping close ties to the Clone Wars? Are you excited about The Last Airbender coming to VOD or streaming? And, what are your thoughts on this whole AMC feud with Universal? Do you think this is the end of the theatrical experience? Are you going to get your own home theater? Or do you think, this is going to be, worked out and everybody is going to still make their millions of dollars and everything, yada, yada, yada? We are also on Twitter and on Instagram, so please give us a like, give us a follow. Hub on Hollywood. Like us, love us, gotta have us. So, speaking about loving and gotta having, the one thing that we have to talk about is this great interview that we had with Amy Jo Johnson. Amy Jo Johnson! She was amazing. Can you talk about that?
Oh, she was spectacular. She's just the sweetest thing. And she's got this incredible movie coming out called Tammy's Always Dying, starring Felicity Huffman. It's her sophomore full-length feature film, and we were very excited to speak with her. It's a very raw kind of film. It's about a woman who is constantly threatening to kill herself until she actually becomes sick and realizes that that's not really the way that she wants to go, and she's connecting with her daughter. Spectacular film, amazing interview. Amy was so gracious and kind.
It's coming out on
Hollywood in pink here.
Yeah, it's coming out on video on demand today, actually, and so perfect timing. Tammy's Always Dying. We are going to show a quick clip about it right now, and then go right into the interview. We talk about, of course, her directing the film. We're talking about how she's doing during this pandemic, her career as well, and her future also. And so here is Tammy's Always Dying, our interview with Amy Jo Johnson.
We exist on a planet filled with people, and some of them are nothing. We are those people, We are nothing people.
Why what? Why won't you just die? Why won't you just die? Get out of the car. 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 Hey, you can't. Get out of the car! All right. Jesus, it's an puddle.
Amy Jo Johnson is an American-Canadian actress and director. You may recognize her from the Smash TV show Felicity, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie, and of course the TV series that I grew up on. Now she just directed a new feature film called Tammy's Always Dying. Amy, thank you so much for joining us on the Hub on Hollywood.
Thanks for having me.
So just to start, can I ask how you're doing during this whole pandemic?
Yeah, sure. I'm okay. My family is right now is healthy, and the people surrounding me, and I'm kind of very grateful for the release of Tammy right now. It has me occupied and something to do. I think it's important to sort of have a focus right now, so that's helping. And yeah, I'm good. You?
Excellent.
You okay?
Yeah, we're hanging in there. Jamie and I were just talking about, how our families are coping with this, and we were taking it day by day just like everybody else, and we had plans to, do things like everybody else, but,
There were big plans this year.
a lot of big plans, but
I had a lot of travel. I had so much travel coming up. But it is what it is, right? Just everybody adjusting and refiguring. Even the release of the movie was supposed to be in theaters, and now it's not. So we're doing like a premiere party. My friend Greg Grumberg from Felicity is hosting it with me on Friday night when the movie comes out. So that'll be fun.
Oh, great. So is that like on Zoom? Is that party going to be online?
Yeah, we just wrapped up a contest to pick 50 people who get to watch the movie for free, and then we all gather in Zoom and have a Q&A and a meet and greet and chat about the movie. Just trying to make something out of the premiere and still celebrate all the hard work a lot of people put into making the film.
Absolutely. So, and speaking of the film, Tammy's Always Dying, featuring Felicity Huffman, Anastasia Phillips, and a few others. Talk to us a little bit about the story and how it came to be, because it seems like a really gritty, raw kind of a story to tell. So tell us a little bit about what it's about and how it came to be.
Sure. So I went to the Canadian Film Center where I was in the director's lab. So after I finished doing Flashpoint in Toronto, I decided I wanted to become a filmmaker, and I did 3 short films. I did my first feature, The Space Between, and then before I tackled my second feature, I went to the Canadian Film Center, and there I met Joanne Sarrazin, who wrote Tammy's Always Dying while she was in the lab, and while at the same time I was there. And I heard the screenplay in a reading with the actors acting it out as she was sort of workshopping the script. And I just fell in love with it. I couldn't even get out of my seat at the end. I walked over to Joanne and just sobbed in her arms. And I laughed so much through that reading as well. Like, that's what I love so much about the script, is that it's wickedly funny, and then it's really heartbreakingly sad. And that's the types of movies I want to make. That's what I'm drawn to as a filmmaker. So I asked Joanne if I could make her movie, and she said yes.
Yeah, and so, and when was this filmed, and where was it filmed? Because from the trailer, let me ask you, where was it filmed, rather?
A town called Hamilton, which is about 45 minutes south of Toronto, and it was perfect. I found that bridge on Google Maps, and because I was looking for the perfect bridge, because the bridge is like a character in the movie. And I saw that bridge, and I hopped in my car and I drove there, and I was like, oh my God, this is the bridge. And then we ended up just shooting the whole movie there and basing the movie out of Hamilton.
That's great. And so how did Felicity Huffman become a part of it? And talk to us a little bit about the casting and what drew you to these actors to bring that story to life?
So Joanne said yes. So Jessica Adams, who I produced The Space Between with, came on board as the producer, and my former manager in Los Angeles, Joni Burstein, came on board as an executive producer, and she actually got the script into Felicity's hands. And then that was a huge feat, because once Felicity fell in love with the script and we went to New York and met with her and she signed on, was really the point where the whole project sort of got its wings, and we knew it was going to happen at that point. And so Joanne said I could make her movie in January, and we were literally shooting by November.
So can you give us a synopsis of the film?
Yeah, it's about a woman who threatens to jump off a bridge once a month to keep her daughter tethered to the town that they live in. And I mean, to me, it's a dark comedy. I think it'll hit people in different ways. I have a cathartic sort of tie to the film. My father struggles with depression and alcoholism. And, you know, for me, my brother and my sister, I think the only way we've really been able to deal with him and his struggles for the past 6 years is finding the humor in it, because he is basically a male version of Tammy in a lot of ways. Yeah. Anyway, where was I at? Got a little sidetracked there. But yeah.
So Anastasia Phillips plays Felicity Huffman's daughter, who is trying to help her. I guess she threatens suicide every month, but then it becomes very real.
Yeah, well, so Tammy gets diagnosed with cancer and suddenly realizes that she doesn't actually want to die. You know, and she's been teasing her daughter with this for years, and then is suddenly faced with her own mortality and doesn't want to die. And so that's sort of, you know, as we dive into Act 2, that begins. And Anastasia Phillips was wonderful in it. So she sent her tape in, and I fell in love with her in that moment. And we auditioned a lot of girls and women, and we had her actually come into the room. And she's so good in the movie. She really just grounds the whole thing. Her and Felicity were just so awesome together.
And Anastasia, she was actually nominated for Outstanding Performance, right?
Yeah, at the Actor Awards here in Toronto, yeah.
And what's the reception been like? Because it not only was Anastasia nominated, but it was also nominated for Best Canadian Film Feature.
Yeah, we actually went to TIFF this year, the Toronto International Film Festival, and that was everything to me, because for so many reasons, especially in hindsight, but it's just such an amazing festival, and to get our film into the festival was the highlight of my career. It was awesome, especially being, you know, living in Toronto and being from here now. It was wonderful. And to actually watch the movie 4 nights in a row sold out with a packed theater was really incredible as a filmmaker. And, you know, the movie was supposed to come out in theaters on Friday, and it's not now because of what's going on. But I got to have that, you know, that experience of seeing it with an audience, which is so important, I think, for a filmmaker to watch their movie with an audience, just to see what lands and what doesn't land. And I love watching. When The Space Between came out, which is my first feature, I went to every single screening of that movie. We did a lot of festivals. We did a lot of screenings, and it was my favorite thing to sit there and see what's working and what's not working.
Right. Oh, congratulations. Yeah, that was going to be a little bit of my next question was, this is your sophomore sort of directorial debut. How did you feel? Did you feel more confident, and especially with a story that connected so much with yourself? If you could talk about how it was directing this the second time around.
Yeah, so that first one was, I mean, it was my first feature-length film, and it was like a quarter of the budget as well. And I had a blast shooting it, and there were no rules. It was, you know, we just didn't guerrilla shoot it, but we just like moved 100 miles per hour. And I mean, we were just, you know, I had so much support. I hired my friends from Flashpoint to star in it with me. It was a completely different experience. I learned so much. My learning curve was gigantic because I had never done it before. But coming into this film, I was just as nervous, but with different fears, I think, and different things that were keeping me up at night. One was working with Felicity. You know, I was about to work with an Oscar-nominated actress who I'd never met, who wasn't my friend. You know, I didn't know her at all. She was wonderful. She was incredibly intimidating and fierce. And like, she showed up with her A game and just gave us everything. But like, she demanded a certain level from everybody, which was such a gift, really. Yeah, I don't know. I learned so much from The Space Between, and I just brought it all with me into shooting Tammy, and I had to work through new fears and learn new lessons. I think each film you do, you sort of hopefully grow.
And so you began, you started off as a small town Cape Cod girl, and now this is, where your career has taken you. And you started off as the Pink Ranger, and now you're a director. And take us a little bit on that journey.
Yeah, so I grew up on Cape Cod, and I knew when I graduated I wanted to perform in some way. I don't think I really knew what it was that I wanted, but I went to New York City and studied acting, and then drove cross country and to Los Angeles to pursue a career as an actress. And I landed Power Rangers quite quickly right after I got there, and did that for a few years. And I feel really blessed with the acting career that I had. It was quite what's the word? I don't know. I just felt I was always working consistently on really cool shows too, like Felicity, and like before I got Felicity, even the movies of the week that I did. And I feel like I was always sort of flying under the radar, never like became like super huge or anything, but consistently worked my entire time. And then when I was turning 35, I just sort of, it wasn't fulfilling me at all, and I needed a change. So I moved my entire life on a whim up to Montreal, to Canada, and sort of quit acting for a bit. And then I landed Flashpoint in Toronto, which brought me here. And my kitty.
My cat's roaming around here too.
Yeah.
It was a weird cry.
I also have a newborn upstairs, so if you hear weird crying, it's probably coming from up there too.
Look at us in our homes working.
Yeah.
So you
making the best of it.
You said for the movie Tammy's Always Dying, the mother, her character tries to tether her daughter to the town. I take it obviously you were not tethered to Massachusetts, at least.
I left as soon as I graduated. I think it was maybe 6 months after or something like that. I could not wait to get to New York City. I remember driving through New York when I was 7, and over that bridge going to Florida, and my heart just going, oh, what is that place? And then when I first moved to New York, having that same exact feeling of just being like, oh my God, where am I? I love New York. I've lived there a few times, but I do love Toronto now too.
Yeah, I'm actually a transplant from LA, so I moved over here to Boston about almost a year ago, and I never imagined living over here, but from what I've experienced over here in the Boston, Medford area, I absolutely love it. The weather, the drivers are another story, but everything else, I'm enjoying it.
I do love the seasons. I mean, sometimes they're a bit too long, the winter, but I lived in LA for 15 years, and when I moved back east, I really appreciated the seasons again. There's something about the change in the seasons that is really cozy. It's good for writing, I find.
Keeps you inside, yeah.
Hard to write when it's so beautiful out in California all the time.
So I have to ask also, for my first introduction to yourself was with Power Rangers and the Pink Ranger. Do you still go to conventions? Was there anything planned that was kind of disrupted by the pandemic?
Everything. Oh yeah, I think I had I think I had 6 to 7 conventions that have been canceled so far. Yeah, I hadn't done one yet this year, and I was about to go into my run of doing. I like to do 6 or 7 of them a year. It's really great to spread the word that I'm making it, like I'm filmmaking now, and to meet all these people, and then also I'm not acting anymore, so it's really helpful in funding my life as I pursue a career in filmmaking, which indie filmmakers don't make a ton of money, so it was really helpful.
Oh, that's fabulous. So if you had here's your 20 seconds for getting people to watch your movie, what's the pitch? What's the, hey, come and see my movie?
Well, first of all, Felicity Huffman stars in the film, and she's really wonderful in it. She and Anastasia Phillips. You know, a lot of people put their heart and soul into this film. I'm super proud of it. This is my passion now. All I want to do is direct and write as well. And I just would love for people to watch the film because I think it's definitely worth watching. And I also think that it deals with a lot of sort of heavy subjects, but I do find that as a filmmaker, I like to find the humor and the levity that lies within some painful stuff. And for me, those are the movies that I like to see because it helps to feel normal. Like, these characters are very flawed. And I hope that people can identify with that. And ultimately, the movie's about letting go, which to me means hope. So it's a positive, unconditional love.
So unfortunately, though, it won't be in theaters because of what's going on. Everybody will be inside, and so video on demand streaming May 1st. I'm definitely going to be watching it when it comes out. And so, is there anything coming up that's in the works, or anything that you hope to attach yourself to?
The optioned a script called A Germaphobe and a Hypochondriac Walk into a Bar. It's a really funny script this guy in New York wrote, and he sent to me in last fall, and I fell in love with the script. It's very funny and heartfelt and right up my alley. And then I'm also writing a screenplay called Somewhere Someone, and it's a fictional story but based off of a woman who was in one of the planes that landed in Gander, Newfoundland during 9/11, when there was 38 planes that were grounded there. And it's a love story where she falls in love with a local. So I'm writing that right now. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. That one's right up my alley.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one.
Great.
I actually went there in the fall to do some research and just kind of like feel the place out before I start writing about it. And oh my God, I loved it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us on the Hub on Hollywood. We are definitely going to be watching Tammy's Always Dying on May 1st, streaming on video on demand. And I'm really excited for the future work also, as well as, you know, again, you directing, and I can't wait for more work.
Thank you. I'm excited about it. I found my true passion for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Take care and be safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so Tammy's Always Dying, directed by Amy Jo Johnson, coming out on video on demand today, so go watch it. That's what I'm going to be doing right after this. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's Hub on Hollywood, a very jam-packed,
That's right.
controlled chaos episode.
I want it to be in your cell.
Yes, jam-packed, controlled chaos. If you want to see our little visitor for this episode, go on YouTube. You can also follow us anywhere that streaming services are or podcasts can be heard. Like us, love us, gotta have us, so that we can keep bringing these amazing interviews to you and keep having fun during this age of Corona. We will keep bringing you the kind of quality content that will get us through. So James, I'm Jamie.
Day.
Bye.